Okay, good morning, everyone who's on tape. Chaf Daled Amud Aleph. We are on the 11th line, Gufa. Amar Reish Lakish. So if you remember from the daf before, first of all, the easy dafs are over, if you haven't noticed yet. So just keep that in mind. Amar Reish Lakish, he said that, Rabbi Meir said that posel edo shazel, posel edo shazel. You could be posel, the edim of somebody else. And there was a whole discussion in the Gemara. But Reish Lakish said, how could Rabbi Meir say such a thing? Tani Edo, it must say Edo. But we're not going to talk about the Metzias. We're going to talk about more of the background of Rabbi Meir and Reish Lakish saying that Rabbi Meir could have never said such a thing. So Amar Reish Lakish, Pekadosh Yomar Zeh Tani Edo. Ini, is this, what's going on here? Amar Ula says, Haroes Reish Lakish bebeis medrash kilu oker harim v'tochnan zeh b'zeh. We know that Reish Lakish was great. That when he was in the base medrash, it was as if he was picking up harim, and he was going and putting them and rubbing them against each other. So what's going on when he's calling Rabbi Meir as having a pek kadosh? Sounds like he's giving him a boost. It sounds like he's giving him a compliment. Amar Avina v'lo kol hara Rabbi Meir beis hamedrash kilu oker hari harim v'tochnan zeh b'zeh. On one hand, it seems like Reish Lakish is greater. On the other hand, it sounds like Rabbi Meir is greater in the sense that if Reish Lakish is taking mountains and going and rubbing them against each other, Rabbi Meir is taking the Hare Harim, the highest mountains, and rubbing them against some others. So what's going on each other? So they seem to be, again, he seems to be complimenting Rabbi Meir. This is what's going on. Bo re'eh kama mechavin zeh zeh. We see how much the rabbis loved each other. That they would say nice things about each other. I said today it's a little different. Today we just pat each other's backs. You say something nice about me, I say something nice about you, so that we all look good. But over there, they mamish mechavin zeh zeh. The mamish loved each other, and therefore, even though one was greater than the other, and this one was greater than that one, they would always say, Pek Kadosh, he's a Pek Kadosh, and he would call him a Pek Kadosh, because they loved each other so much. Where do we see an example of Rabbanim who love each other so much? There's a halacha of hatmana on Shabbos, so you can't take something that's hot and wrap it. That's hatmana. You can't wrap it to keep it hot, and there's all these different halachas. But there's also a question of what about cold stuff? So Rebbe says that you can't even do hatmana on cold stuff on Shabbos. If you have cold things, if you have something that's freezing cold, and you want to put it into sand, and you want to wrap it in sand, and again, today we would use towels or something of the like. You'll see people sometimes before Shabbos, you're allowed to wrap if you have soup, sometimes Friday night, if people want to have soup Friday night, so they'll wrap it before Shabbos, they'll take it off. They want to take it off of the stove. They don't want to keep it on the whole Shabbos, so they can wrap it before Shabbos, the soup and towels. You can't necessarily do that on Shabbos itself. That's called hatmana. But when you have something cold, so he says it's usher to even put something cold on Shabbos into sand to keep it cold. However, Amar Lafana Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Yossi says, Abba hitil hamin. My father Rabbi Yossi said it's mutter to do atmana with cold stuff, and you see that's the halacha, that's the aleph. Amar Leik var horazakein. So Rabbi, who was a great person, when he heard that Rabbi Yossi paskin that it was okay, he came back and said, okay, horazakein. He said it's allowed. And I'm going to say it's allowed, even though originally I thought it was aser. Amar Papa, you see how much they love each other. Why? Rabbi Yossi kiyem hayakafav Yoshi lifnei Rebbe. If Rabbi Yossi was around, he would literally be bowing to Rebbe. Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi mimali makom avosav havav havikayef v'hayakafav Yoshi lifnei Rebbe. Because you see that his son, who took the place of him, Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi, took his place, and he would bow down to Rebbe, not literally, but he would go and he would make himself secondary to Rebbe. And nevertheless, how much they were mechavin zed that Rebbe, who would have been looked at as the Rebbe of Rabbi Yossi, would still go ahead and he would still say, you know what, Rabbi Yossi said something, we're going to hold halacha is like Rabbi Yossi. Amar Voshia, my dichsiv. What does it mean when it says the following? I took 2 makalos sticks. One I called Noam, nice, and imos gracious, karasi chovlim, one I called not so nice, assaulting. Noim elu tamidei chacham shereji tzol shemenam in zezel alacha. So it's interesting. The way the Gemara is going to go now is that in Israel, in Eretz Yisrael, they were very nice to each other, the Talmidei Chachamim. They argued, but in a very nice and calm way, and they tried to figure out why the other one was right, and they tried to get, and as Rashi says, they finally got to the halacha because they would do it in a very calm, cool, and collected way. In Bavel, they were a little bit, they also, again, there was lishma, but they had a different mahalech of going at it, that they would basically beat down each other's throats. I said it was interesting if somebody would be able to be holding in both Bavli and Yerushalmi. It would be interesting to do a analysis to see if it's true that in the Yerushalmi they're more calm. I haven't learned the Yerushalmi enough, But if anybody wants to take it upon themselves, if you want to check the Yerushalmi and see, is in fact this true, that in the Yerushalmi the arguments are a little bit more calm.
It's much more bekitzer.
It's more bekitzer. So the question, right. So I don't know. I just don't know the Metzius. It's much harder to learn, but I don't know the Metzius. It sounds like they're saying here that when they learned in Eretz Yisrael, they learned much more, again, they were much more like Mechav and Zed as opposed to being hard on each other. That sounds to be. Those are the two Mahalchim in learning in general and etc. So the Gemara says, Noam elu talmidei chachamim sheberetz Yisrael shemanam zezel lehalacha. Chovlim, the ones that were a little bit more assaulting, elu talmidei chachamim shebevel shemachavlim zezel lehalacha. And again, Rashi says that that's why in Eretz Yisrael they were able to come to conclusions because they were trying to work with each other as opposed to working against each other. Vayomer eila shnei bnei yitzar ha'omdim. There's two psukim here. There's one that says these are the two bnei yitzar. Ushnayim zeisim ala. The second pasuk is that there are two olives. Yitzar is olive oil, and zeisim are olives. Yitzar, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Elo Tamid Chacham Sheberetz Yisrael. The Bach says Shemisham Shenin Zela Zeh Behalacha Kishem and Zayis. So again, the olive oil are the Talmidim in Eretz Yisrael who are very fluid and very calm with each other, nice and sweet and smooth. Ushnayim zeisim aleh. Olives, at least the olive tree that we've shown him discuss, is it olives per se that are bitter or the olive tree that's bitter? They're more bitter to each other, again, not that it wasn't lishma, but they had a different way of arguing with each other than in Eretz Yisrael. Now we have a pasuk from Zechariah. I raised my eyes and I saw that there were two nashim who were coming out. V'ruach ben kanfeyem. And there was ruach in their wings, v'lahena knafayim kikanfei chasida, and they had wings like the chasida. V'tisena es ha'efa, they held up the efa bein ha'aretz bein ha'shamayim. V'omar el ha'malach hadover bi, and I said to the malach, Ana hema molchos es ha'efa, where are these two women taking the efa? V'yomer eli, he said to me, livno la bayis be'eretz shinar. They're going to take the efa to build a house in Eretz Shinar. Where's Eretz Shinar? In Bavel. Zok the Gemara, Amar Yochanan Mishum B'Shom Ben Yochai. What are these two women? Who are these two women that we're talking about? Zo Chanufa ugsus haruach. These are Chanufa. Chanufa is like Chanifus. It's like hypocritical. And ugsus haruach is arrogance. So Bavel, they're going to build a house in Bavel. Seemingly the pasuk means that in Bavel they had hypocritical people and arrogant people. Shiyardu leBavel. Says the Gemara, ugsus haruach leBavel nachis. Did hypocritical people really come to? Did arrogant people come to Bavel? Amar Mar said Asara Kavin Gus Gus Yardu Olam. Tisha Nadla Elam. What's Elam? Persia. V'achas Kol Olam Kulos. What do you mean that the people in Bavel were very arrogant? You see that 9/10 of arrogance went to Persia, and 1/10 went to the rest of the world. And you're right. LeBavel Nachis. Arrogance came to Bavel, and through Bavel it went V'ishtaruve de'ishtarvev le'elam. Then it went to Persia. So okay, Lamaisa. The Persian people and the Bavel people are arrogant. Dekanami dechsiv. Where do you see that this is true? You have a diuk in the pasuk. Livnos la bayis be'eretz shinar shmamina. Because you have two people, and it says one of them are going to build a house in Bavel. Where's the other one going? The other one's going to Elam. So the one who's going to Elam is a Gesus Ruach. The one who's staying in Bavel is the Chanifus. Ve'amar Mar. There's only one problem. If you tell me that the Gesus Ruach went through Bavel, but it eventually ended up in Elam, says Mar Siman leGesus Ruach Anius. If you want to know if people are arrogant or not, if you see poor people, that's a siman. It doesn't necessarily mean that for sure you have Gesus Ruach, but a siman of people that are arrogant is that they're poor. So when you see poor people, so what's the problem? Anius leBavel Nachis. If you go to Bavel, you see a lot of poor people. So what do you tell me that there's no arrogance in Bavel? Seemingly, a lot of poor people means that there's a lot of arrogance. My Anius, no. What does it mean? Anius Torah. It means poor in Torah. Dichsiv achos lanu ketana. We have a small achos v'shadim ein la. She doesn't have any shadim. Amr of Yochanan, zo elam shezach salilma v'lo zach salalamed. So where do you see? Yes, in Bavel they have monetary poorness, but in Elam they have Torah poorness, and Torah poorness is a sign. Elam is Persia. Persia they have Torah poorness. Where do you see that? Rashi says that in Bavel we know talmud-bavli. We know that they had plenty of Torah learning, and the people in Elam in Persia learned also. They just weren't as serious about it. When you don't have serious students, you can't be a serious teacher. That's why they weren't able to be Lalamed. Who is Lalamed in Persia? So Rashi says Daniel and Mordechai, amongst others. They weren't Matzliach as much as they would have liked to have been in teaching, because the people in Persia weren't necessarily as into it. That's Aniyas B'Torah. That means that that shows that they were Gasus Ruach. In Bavel they were poor, but they weren't poor in terms of Torah. And that's why where it says Ezra was able to really teach the people Torah, because at the end of the day, the people in Bavel learned a lot.
Bavel is not in Persia?
Bavel, this Babylonian we're talking about, is not in Persia. I don't know exactly. It's a different I don't know in terms of it's referring to the people. I don't know the Metzias. Yeah, I don't know exactly where on the map. My Bavel, where is Bavel, or what is Bavel? Amar Yochanan, what is it? Why is it called Bavel? Belula b'mikra, belula b'mishnah, belula b'talmud. They were engrossed, and they were covered. Belula means a few different things, in mikra, mishnah, and talmud. Then finally the pasuk says, "B'machashakim hoshivani k'meisei olam." In darkness you return me like the dead people. Amar Yirmiyah zet talmuda shel Bavel. Again, this is the talmud-bavli. Interesting, in the talmud-bavli talking about itself. It was like darkness because they fought a lot, so they didn't necessarily always be able to come to conclusions the way that the Talmud Yerushalmi could come to conclusions. Okay. Easy part. Now, Mishnah. Zok the Mishnah. Put on the thinking caps. Amar lo. He says to him, Neman alay abba, neman alay avicha, nemanim alay shlosha roi bakar. So what's happening here? You have two bali din, and one of them is saying that even though in general a father, let's use my father as an example, my father is not going to be kosher to be a dayan. If I say that I'm willing to have my father be a dayan, so I can do that. However, Meir says, Yachol achsabo, I can go back if I change my mind. And the Gemara is going to talk about, does that mean I could go back before the Gemara din? I could go back after the verdict? Once I agree that my father is going to be the judge, I can't go back. If I was chayiv to my friend a shvua, and instead of saying to my friend, or my friend was chayiv a shvua to me, and instead of saying to my friend, take a regular shvua, I said, you know what? You don't have to take such a serious shvua deraisa. Take a minimum shvua. What's a minimum shvua? Dorli, swear to me, b'chaye roshecha. Say I swear instead of, however they would take a regular shvua deraisa, just say I swear. So I was willing to basically have him take a lower shvua. Now I change my mind. I say, no, I want to take a shvua deraisa. Am I allowed to change my mind? Meir omer yachol lachsabo, v'chachamim omrim ein yachol lachsabo. Now, just to give a little bit of an intro to the Gemara here, when we're talking about two bali dinin, and we're talking about shvuas, so when talking about bali dinin, let's just we're going to use the classic example, in our case, of malve and love, a lender and a borrower. And we're going to see why that's important. We're going to have a lender and a borrower. Now, when a person says that my father should be a judge, it could either be the lender saying my father should be one of the judges and a borrower. And if you remember from the beginning of the Mishnah, they each choose judges, etc., whether they each choose a beit-din or one, etc. So you have the malve or the love, those are the bali dinin in our case. And again, one of them is saying my father should be a judge, and now that person wants to be choser. He wants to change his mind when I guess he sees that the verdict is not going his way. Maybe even before the verdict, he sees that maybe my father's not going to be as good to me as I thought. That's whether he could be yachol achsabo or not. And in terms of the malva and the lova, in terms of a shvua, as we'll see in a second, there's two different types of shvua. There's a shvua sometimes where the malva takes a shvua, where the lender takes a shvua, and if he takes a shvua that he lent the money, it's nishba, and then he can collect. Or sometimes the lova can take a shvua where he swears and then he doesn't have to pay. Those are the two types of shuas. You swear and then you collect, or you swear and then you don't have to pay. So those are just a few things to keep in mind. Let's see what the Gemara says. Amar Rav Dimi Breder Rav Nachman Breder Rav Yosef could go into Kabli Allah Bachat. We had that already, where again the guy said that he wanted one of the judges. There were two kosher judges, and now he has one judge. He wants to be his father, and now he wants to go back on it. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Put on your caps. So Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan are going to have a machlokes as to what the machlokes of Rabbi Meir and the Rabbanan are. Again, Rabbi Meir, always keep in mind, Rabbi Meir says, Yachol achsarbo, whatever we're talking about, and Rabbanan say you cannot go back on what you did already. So, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, machlokes b'machol lecha, aval be'etein lecha divra kol yachol achsarbo. So what's machol lecha? Machol lecha means I'm mochel. Etein lecha means I'll give you. Who would say machol lecha mochel? The lender. Who would say etein lecha? I'll give you. The borrower. So machlokes b'machol lecha. Machol, when the lender says, I want my father to be a judge, and now he changes his mind, Rabbi Meir says the lender can change his mind. Rabbi Meir, the Chacham say the lender cannot change his mind. Aval be'etein lecha, if we're dealing with the borrower, divrei hakol yachol achsabo. The borrower can always change his mind, even according to the Chachamim. Why should the borrower be able to change his mind? So again, Rashi explains that the lender has more of an achrayus, let's say, I don't know if that's the right word, but the lender's trying to do something stronger than the borrower. The borrower is just trying to find a beit-din which is going to say you don't have to pay. The lender is trying to extract money from the borrower. In order to extract money from a borrower, you need to have a stronger beit-din than if you're just trying to have a person not pay anything at all. So again, Rabbi Yehuda Amar Shmuel says, machlokes b'machol lecha. By machulacha, when we're dealing with the lender, so Rabbi Meir says that the lender can change his mind, and Rabbanan say the lender cannot change his mind. Aval be'etein lecha, even Rabbanan were to say that the borrower could change his mind, because at the end of the day, the borrower, aval be'etein lecha divrei kol yachol lachsebo, by etein lecha, everybody can change their mind. By etein lecha, the borrower is allowed to change his mind, even according to the Rabbanan, because again, by etein lecha, you don't need such a strong beit-din. Let's just read this inside for a second. Read Rashi. B'machal lecha, itoveya amar l'nitba neman alai abo avicha im yiskucha yehei machal lecha. If the lender says, I will be mochel to you, if my father can be on the beit-din to be mochel lechu, hasam kamer Rabbanan en yachol lachsebo, da'zacha zeh b'masha biyado mikevan sheyatza zakai. So if the borrower, if the lender says, I want my father to be on the thing, so he can't change his mind, because again, you don't need such a strong beit-din to say that the guy can keep the money. So once I have my father on the beit-din, even though it's not such a strong beit-din because he's my father, in order to keep the money, you can't go back. However, be'etein lecha, did nitbar mar l'tovei michayvuni abo avicha etein lecha, divrei hakol yachor lachsebo, why can the borrower go back? Dehoel ve'amamon biyado, since the money is still in his hands, ein bo koach l'toveya, the toveya does not have the ability, the lender does not have the ability, lahotzi ela b'dayanin ksherim. That means if the borrower agrees to have his father on the beit-din and he changes his mind, he can say, well, I'm changing my mind and you have to let me change my mind because you're trying to extract money. And if you want to extract money from me, you need 3 kosher dayanin and not my father. Again, if they all agree to go with the father, that's allowed. But the point is that be'etein lecha, by the loveh, who's the one who's making the decision, he has more power to go back on his word when he's giving up the money. When he's not giving up the money, when it's from the lender's perspective, where there's no money being given up, it's just that he's telling the borrower that he could keep the money, then the lender cannot go back. So again, according to Yudah Mishmuel, the machlokes is by the lender, where the Rabbanan say the lender cannot go back. The Rabbi Meir says the lender can go back. Even the lender can go back. But by the borrower, even the Rabbanan would agree that the borrower can go back. For Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Rabbi Yochanan says, no, be'etein lecha machlokes. That the machlokes is by the borrower. He doesn't say anything about the lender. So the Gemara says, Ibayilahu, be'etein lecha machlokes, aval b'machal lecha divra kol ein yachol achserbo. If be'etein lecha is a machlokes, which means that if the borrower, according to Rabbanan, say that even by the borrower he can't go back, so then for sure the lender can't go back. So then that would be divra kol ein yachol achserbo by the lender. Odilma bein bezu machlokes. So what is Rabbi Yochanan saying when he says that the be'etein lecha is machlokes? That the lender, it's a machlokes, Rabbi Meir and the Chachamim by the lender. Does that mean that he holds that by the borrower? Be'etein lecha, by the borrower it's machlokes. Does that mean that by the lender it's a machlokes as well? Or by the lender everyone will agree that you're not allowed to go back? Tashma. So Rava says, the Amar Rava, machlokes be'etein lecha. Machlokes is by etein lecha. Aval b'machol lecha divra kol ein yachol achsebo. So machlokes is by etein lecha. Machlokes is by the borrower, but by the lender, everyone would say you can't go back. Iyamart bishlema be'etein lecha machlokes b'machol lecha divra kol ein yachol achsebo. Rava damer Rabbi Yochanan. Then Rabbi Yochanan saying like Rava. Ela iyamart bein bezu machlokes. Rava damer kaman. If you say bein bezu machlokes is Rabbi Yochanan, so then who's he holding? Like Rava tamei denafshei kamar. It could be that Rava is saying his own thing. Now let me just explain what's going on here. On the next daf, we're going to have Rava coming and he's going to be paskening. Rava's not paskening in this case. Rava's just trying to figure out what Rabbi Yochanan is saying. So Gemara originally thought, well, Rabbi Yochanan needs to be saying this because Rava says that that's what he's saying. But then the Gemara says, no, maybe that's Rava's understanding of the machlokes of Rabbi Meir and the Rabbanan. But again, Rabbi Yochanan would have a different understanding. If you're having trouble following, it's not easy Gemara. Again, you have to sort of take a chart and write it out. But I try to explain as clearly as possible. So now it comes out that let's just go within Rava. Because as we always said, you try to get the klalim, but let's just go within Rava to make it easier to understand. Within Rava, machlokes is be'etein lecha. Let's just work within Rava so that we have something solid to work with. Rava says that the machlokes of Rabbi Meir and the Rabbanan, where Rabbi Meir says that he's allowed to go back, and the Chachamim say you're not allowed to go back, that's be'etein lecha. That's when the borrower comes and says, I want my father on the beit-din. Then they go through the whole process, and then the borrower changes his mind and says, I don't want my father on the beit-din. Rabbanan say, too bad. You wanted your father on the beit-din, you can't change your mind. That's be'etein lecha, by the borrower. Cannot change his mind. Rabbi Meir says, what do you mean? The borrower can change his mind, no problem. The borrower is allowed to change his mind, and that's etein lecha. But if you hold that etein lecha is a machlokes, aval b'machol lecha, but by machol lecha, divrei hakol ein yachol lachzer bo. But by machol lecha, Rabbi Meir will agree that the guy can't change his mind. Why? Because Rabbi Meir will say the reason he could change his mind, that the borrower can change his mind, is because at the end of the day, the lender's trying to extract money from the borrower, so the borrower can say to the lender, you want to extract money? Yes, I said originally that my father could be on the beit-din, but you want to extract money? I'm changing my mind. Go get 3 kosher dayanim. Rabbi Yochanan says, no, who cares? What do you mean 3 kosher dayanim? Yes, you're trying to extract money. Yes, you're trying to extract money, but you agreed to have your father on the beit-din. That's the machlokes of Rabbi Meir and Rabbanan. But by the case where the lender is trying to be here, and the lender says, I'm willing to have my father on the base, and then he says, I'm changing my mind, even Rabbi Meir will say you can't change your mind, because at the end of the day, we don't need such a strong beis-din in order to allow the borrower to keep his money and not pay you, the lender. And therefore, even Rabbi Meir will agree that the lender cannot change his mind. That's what comes out according to Rava. That's the easiest way, again, just to understand within Rava. Lender can never change his mind, because we don't need such a strong beis-din to have the borrower keep his money. So even if the lender originally says, my father, and then he changes his mind, even Rabbi Meir would say he can't change his mind. Divrei hakol, you can't change your mind as the lender. The borrower changing his mind is where we have the machlokas. So Rabbanan would say, still the borrower can't change his mind. Nobody's allowed to change their mind. And Rabbi Meir would say, no, the borrower can change his mind because he has this taina. At the end of the day, you're trying to extract money from me, so you need to go at it. Yes, I agreed originally, but Lamaisa, since you're trying to extract money, I can change my mind. That's the machlokas within Rava. Easiest way to understand the machlokas. Fine. Zak the Gemara. Just to make things a little bit more complicated. Now we have the seifa of the Mishnah. What's the seifa of the Mishnah? Seifa of the Mishnah is when we have 2 friends. Let's just say the malva and the lova again. So it could either be the malva saying to the lova, go take a swear. You don't have to take the real swear. Take a regular swear, a simple swear, and then you can go ahead and not pay me. Or it could be the lova saying to the malva, take a simple swear, not the real swear. Take a simple swear, and then I'll be willing to pay you. So which one is it? Let's just plug this in for a second, because it's important. Which one is machol lecha and which one is etein lecha? If we want to go to the beginning, if we want to keep the reisha and seifa consistent. Machol lecha is what? Machol lecha is the borrower saying to the lender, machol lecha is the lender saying to the borrower, take a swear that you don't owe me money, and you won't have to pay. Etein lecha is the borrower saying to the lender, take a swear that I owe you money, and I'll pay you. That's the thing. Why am I saying that? Because if the reisha, we just said according to Rava, the reisha is what? The reisha is a case, the machlokes is by etein lecha, but by machol lecha divrei hakol. If machol lecha divrei hakol, that means that our Mishnah is not talking about a case of machol lecha. That's a case of divrei hakol. Our Mishnah is the machlokes case. So if our Mishnah is the machlokes case, and in Rava the machlokes case is the case of who? Of etein lecha, of the borrower talking. Now we have to figure out, the Gemara is going to try to figure out, well, does that mean that in the Seifa, it's an etein lecha case or a machol lecha case? Well, what's the benefits? If it's an etein lecha case, then it's consistent with the reisha, but then why do you need the reisha and the Seifa? I mean, you're basically telling me the same argument twice in the reisha and the Seifa. It only makes sense if the Seifa, if you just told me that the reisha is a case of the borrower talking, it only makes sense if the Seifa is a case of the lender talking. Says the Gemara, according to you, the Seifa must be a case of the lender talking. My love be'osan hanishba'in velo mishalmin dahavale kimachulacha. Is this not a case of who? Of nishba velo mishalem. He's saying you swear and don't pay, i.e., it's a case of the lender talking. Lo. You could say it's a case of be'osan hanishba'in v'nolan dahavale ke'etein lecha. You could say, you could say it's a case of the lender talking. We could also explain it that it's a case of the borrower talking. If it's a case of the borrower talking, v'hatana le reisha, but we already have the reisha, which taught us this din, and that when the borrower talks, there's a machlokes Rabbi Meir and the chachamim. So what do you need to tell me again that there's a case where the borrower is talking? Says the Gemara, Tana tole b'das acherim, v'tana tole b'das atzmim. Again, the easiest answer is that the reisha is the borrower talking, etein lecha, and the seifa is the lender talking. But we want to explain that maybe the seifa can be the borrower talking, and it's still not a problem. It means even if the seifa is a borrower talking, why is it not the same din twice? Because of the following. Tana tole bedas acherim, v'tana tole bedas atzmo. The first case of the Mishnah, where we talk about, again, the borrower talking, and I'm talking about my father. So the borrower is being tole bedas acherim. He's having another person. When he assumes that his father is going to come ahead and be a judge, what's he assuming in that case when he gets his father to be the judge, the borrower? What's he assuming his father is going to say? You don't have to pay. You're off the hook. What happens when his father doesn't say he's off the hook? He throws up his hands and says, this is not what I had in mind. Mekach tos. Mekach tos. I want to switch him out. So one can tie him mekach tos. What happens in the second case when the borrower says to the lender, you swear and I'll pay you? Again, that's the case of etein lecha. You swear and I'll pay you. What happens when the lender is willing to swear? The borrower can't throw up his hands and say, mekach tos, I expected you not to swear. I told you that you could take a little shua, you don't have to take the real shua. He could have only expected that the guy was going to take the shua. It's my way of saying mekach tos. Rashi doesn't say it, but that's the way to understand it. So that's why you need both. If you only had the first case with the avicha, then I would understand that in the case of avicha, the guy can claim mekach tos. That's why Rabbi Meir would say what? He's allowed to go back on his word. But maybe in the second case, Rabbi Meir would say he couldn't tie in a mekach tos. What did you expect him to do? Of course he's going to take the shvua, which is a little shvua, which is not a shvua deraisa, and collect from you. Comes Rabbi Meir, Kamash Malan, and says, even in that case, the guy can go back. That's what the Gemara says. That's Tana Tole Bedas Acherim, i.e. the father. That's the first case, the Reisha. V'Tana Tole Bedas Atzmo, that's his own das. That's the second case. Utzricha, De'i Tana Tole Bedas Acherim, the Reisha. We would argue, in his mind, he never had intention to basically have his father be the judge, unless his father was going to be mizaki him. But you'd have to say that in the seifa, he agrees that when he offered him to take the shvua, he assumed he was going to take the shvua, and therefore he shouldn't be able to go back. Therefore, he has to tell us the seifa as well, that he can go back. So why do you need the reisha then? Why don't you just tell me the seifa? Because if you only told me the seifa, what would you assume? If you only told me the seifa, I would say that in the case of the seifa, the Rabbanan say that what? That you can't go back. Aval be'ahi, maybe in the first case of the Reisha, where it was a mekach tos, we had in mind the entire time that what? His father would be mizakeh. Maybe in that case, ema modulu Rabbanan. Rabbanan would say that you can go back. So says the Gemara, no, Rabbi Meir tzricha, therefore you tzricha. That's the Gemara. Again, not easy, but when you chazir it, you'll get it a lot. But that's the Gemara back and forth, why you need the Reisha and the Seifa. Amar Reish Lakish. Now we have a new question. This was whether it was etin lecha or machal lecha. Now we have a question, forget about who it is. Let's say it's the borrower, let's say it's the lender, whoever it is, and whatever they say based on what we just said. When is this whole thing happening? When does the guy want to go back? Does he want to go back before the verdict, lifnei gemar din, or even after the verdict? That means the lender says, okay, I want my father. And then the father says, well, the borrower doesn't owe you any money. That's the verdict. Oh, I want to go back. My father's puzzle. Can you do that? Or only lifnei gemar din? So what would you think? I would think dafka lifnei gemar din. Says the Gemara, Amar Reish Lakish machlokes lifnei gemar din. The machlokes of Rabbi Meir and the Rabbanan is before gemar din, where even Rabbanan say you can't go back. Rabbi Meir says you can go back, but only before the verdict. Of alacher gemar din divrei kol ein yochel achzeh, but ridiculous. How could he go back after the gemar din? Rabbi Yochanan Amar la'achar gemar din machlokes. And Rabbi Yochanan says that no, Rabbi Meir holds that even after the gemar din you could go back. Ibaya lahu la'achar gemar din machlokes. When Rabbi Yochanan says la'achar gemar din is a machlokes, so what does that mean? Does that mean that lifnei gemar din is also a machlokes? Or does that mean that lifnei gemar din, even the Rabbanan hold that you can go back? Ava lifnei gemar din divrei hakol yachal lachzago. O dilma beimizu machlokes. So again, tashma de amar Rava. Over here, it's tashma de amar Rava, but it's not machlokes like he said on the other daf. Here, Rava is going to paskin what the halacha is. What's Rava paskening? Kiba alav karov apasol. Lifnei gemar din yachal lachzago. Before the gemar din, even the Rabbanan hold that you're allowed to go back. Achar gemar din ein yachal lachzabo. But after the gemar din, you're not allowed to go back. Who's he paskening like? Now, what are the klalim? Look back for a second. Rava needs to pasken like who? Rava needs to pasken like the Rabbanan. So the question is he paskening like the Rabbanan, which in Reish Lakish or within Rabbi Yochanan? Well, let's see. Look at Reish Lakish. Machlokes lifnei gemar din. It means the Rabbanan hold even before the gemar din by Reish Lakish. Rabbanan hold before the gemar din you cannot go back. Well, Rava is saying that before the gemar din you can go back. So he can't be within Reish Lakish, because within Reish Lakish, Rabbanan would hold that before the Gemar Din, you still cannot go back. Within Rabbi Yochanan, who says la'achar Gemar Din machlokes, then one can argue that what? If you hold that la'achar Gemar Din, if you hold that Rabbi Yochanan is saying la'achar Gemar Din, it's a machlokes, that the Rabbanan say you can't go back after the Gemar Din, and Rameir says you can go back even after the Gemar Din, but before the Gemar Din, everybody, including the Rabbanan, hold that you can go back. So it seems like Rava is like the opinion of the Rabbanan within Rabbi Yochanan, assuming that Rabbi Yochanan holds lifnei Gemar Din divrei hakol, you could go back, la'achar Gemar Din machlokes. That's what the Gemara is about to say. Iyamar bishlama la'achar Gemar Din machlokes aval lifnei Gemar Din divrei hakol yachol lachzer bo, which is the first way of learning Rabbi Yochanan. Rava damar Rabbi Yochanan. He's within Rabbi Yochanan. Valiba de Rabbanan. Ela iyamar bein bezu machlokes. If you say that they argue even before the Gemar Din, Rava damar kaman. I know who he's saying like. He says like Rabbi Meir. Gemara is saying he can't hold like Rabbi Meir. Ela lav shmamina la'achar Gemar Din machlokes shmamina. Not what I would have thought, but it comes out now again to always understand what comes out at the bottom line. Bottom line is that Rava holds that you can actually go back. That even Rabbanan holds that lifnei Gemar Din you could go back. It means bain if you're the borrower, bain if you're the lender. Which again, the biggest chiddush would be a case of where you're the borrower. Even if you're the borrower, you can go back before the case. No, that's not the chiddush. The chiddush is that even the lender, where you don't really need to have a kosher beit-din, quote unquote, even the lender can go back before the Gemar Din. So before the Gemar Din, everybody agrees you can go back. After the Gemar Din, Rabbi Meir still holds that you can go back. Bottom line is, if you're in a case with somebody else and you're the lender, don't agree to have the borrower have his father, because if you agree to have him have a psul, somebody on the beit-din, then after the Gemar Din, after the Gemar Din, he can go back. So it comes out that lifnei Gemar Din, you can always go back, assuming that, again, you made this decision that you're going to have a psul on the beit-din, and la'achar Gemar Din, Rabbi Meir would still say that you can go back. Says the Gemara, Shalach le Rav Nachman bar Rav Chisda le Rav Nachman bar Yaakov, Yilamdeinu Rabbeinu. So they're just double checking. Lifnei Gemar Din machlokes, la'achar Gemar Din machlokes, v'alacha k'direi mi shalach le, la'achar Gemar Din machlokes, as we just said. Lifnei Gemar Din, everybody agrees, v'alacha k'direi chachamim, like we just said. Rav Ashi amar hachi shalach le. Now we're going back to our other case, because again, we didn't answer the question on Amud Aleph. Are they arguing by etein lecha or malcha lecha? Says the Gemara, Rav Ashi amar hachi shalach le, be'etein lecha machlokes, o b'macho lecha machlokes, v'alacha k'direi mi. This is the halacha, shalach le, be'etein lecha machlokes. So they're arguing by etein lecha again. They're not arguing lifnei Gemar Din. Lifnei Gemar Din, nothing to talk about. So the only case we have a machlokes now is la'achar Gemar Din. And even la'achar Gemar Din, is it be'etein lecha or be'machol lecha? Le'etein lecha machlokes, ve'alacha gedivrei chachamim. It's be'etein lecha, and in be'machol lecha, seemingly what? Be'machol lecha, you cannot go back. And be'etein lecha, you can't go back either. So again, the halacha is that beforehand you can go back. Before the Gemar Din, everybody says you can go back. After the Gemar Din, everyone says we're going to paskin that you can't go back. That's basically what not what I would have expected, but it makes sense, because at least after the Gemar Din you can't go back, before the Gemar Din you can go back. That's what comes out. If somebody asks you what you learned today, before the Gemar Din before the Gemar Din you're allowed to go back, and after the Gemar Din you can't go back. What do you have to come today? Okay. So the Gemara, Besura, that's all this case with the case of the puzzle. Before the Gemar Din, if there's no case of puzzle, you can't just throw out, as we had the first day, you can't just throw out edim. You can't just throw out dayanim. But that's what comes out. Before the Gemar Din, you can go back. After the Gemar Din, you can't go back. Besura masnecha b'bedisa masnecha. Amar b'chanina bar shalmi. Shochlim be'erav rab l'shmuel. Yilamdeinu rabbeinu. Lifnei Gemar Din, where we said lifnei Gemar Din, you can go back. But let's say, besides for saying, I want my father to be the dayan, I said, I want my father to be the dayan, and I'm willing to do a kinyan on my father becoming the dayan. Obviously, what's the halacha? V'kanu miyadei mai. Shalach lu ein la'achar kinyan klum. Once you have a kinyan too late, and then even if you hold that lifnei Gemar Din, everyone agrees you can go back. Once you do a kinyan, you can't go back. Yeah, let's just do the Mishnah, and then we'll take questions at the end. Zok the Mishnah. Be'elu ein apsulin, the moment we've all been waiting for. How do we know that people that gamble cannot be edim or dayanim? This is the Mishnah. Be'elu ein apsulin. Listen up carefully. These are the people that are possible to be dayanim or to be edim. Hamisachei pikuvya, gamblers. Malve beribis, if you lend money on interest. Umafri chayonim, if you play with the pigeons, if you fly pigeons for money. V'soichrei shvius, and if you do business with shvius. Amar Shimon b'tchila yikoros on os shvius. In the beginning, they used to call the people that gather produce on the shvius. Misharabu anasin. When the oppressors came, chazu likros on sochrei shvius. And the Gemara is going to talk about what's the difference between os shvius, gathering. Gathering means you're just taking the stuff from shvius, and sochrei means you're selling it. Amar Yehuda. Let's just skip that middle part because I don't want to get confused. But let's just go back now. Now we're going back to the Mesachet Bekuvia. Amar Yehuda emasai. When are these people? Let's just assume the Mesachet Bekuvia, but it might be going on all of them. But let's just go on the Mesachet Bekuvia. When is the Mesachet Bekuvia going to be Pasal Edus? Bisman she'ein lehen umnus elahu. Only when he has no other job. He solely makes his money from gambling. Aval yesh lehen umnus shelohu ksherin. But if he has other parnasa as well, then he doesn't. Then he's not Pasal Edus. Why should we know if there's another parnasa or not? Let's see the Gemara. Mesachet Bekuvia my covered. Well, what's the reason that a Mesachet Bekuvia cannot be a aid or a judge? So there's two possibilities. Amarami bar Chama, mishum dehave asmachta v'asmachta lo kanya. Because it's an asmachta, and asmachta is not kanya. What does that mean? It's a famous idea. Look at the Gemara. Look at Rashi. Asmachta. Hainu davar de'eno nosein lo midaito. An asmachta means that he's not giving it midaito. Ela somech al davar she'eno. It's called an asmachta. He's being somech on something that's not here. What does that mean? Desavar shehu yochol l'natseachu pe'amim she'menatzchen oso. He's somech on the fact that he's going to win, which is not true. He can't be somech on that. So Lamaisa, what's wrong with a gambler being an aid? What in essence are you doing wrong when you're a gambler? You're stealing. Because the person that you took from did not have das to give you the money. He assumed that he was going to win the whole time. And if he assumed he was going to win, when he gave it over to you, he wasn't really being makne to you. Therefore, Lamaisa, you, the person who took from him, is Pasal Edus. What's an nafkamina? Well, most people never win. So if you never win, maybe you could say you're not a Goslin. But if you ever win, then we have to assume that you're a Goslin. And you're a Goslin, you can't be an aid or a dayan. That's one reason why a Mesachet Bekuvia would be Pasal, because an asmachta is lo kanya. When you have a asmachta, when he, the gambler, the other guy you're taking the money from, has an asmachta in his mind, so much that he's not going to lose, then lo kanya, when you take his money, you weren't kona it, because he didn't have the mind to give it to you. If you weren't kona it, then by definition you're a Goslin, and lamaisa, you can't be an aid or a dayan. Rav Sheshes Amar no. Kol ki agavna lava smachtahi. That's not in the case of an asmachta. In the case of asmachta is when your mamish have in mind that you're not going to lose something. When you have in mind that if I don't finish by tomorrow, I'll pay a penalty, as Rashi says, of $50. You don't have in mind to ever pay that penalty of $50 because you know you're going to finish by tomorrow. And if you don't finish by tomorrow, you can say, I didn't have in mind to pay the penalty because I thought for sure I'm going to finish by tomorrow. But when you're gambling, as Rashi says, at the end of Al-Hacha, the last Rashi on the left, the last four lines of Al-Hacha, lo samech amidei, dehalo yada in natzach ilo natzach. You're assuming it's an asmada because you're somech that you're going to win. It's not that you're somech you're going to win. You have no idea. You have no idea if you're going to win or lose. It's not gezela, because you assume that you can lose, just like you assumed you can win. The first opinion is assuming that you were going to win, you were somech, you're going to win, therefore it's gezela. Second opinion says it's not gezela, because the guy didn't assume he was going to win. He assumed he was going to lose, or that he was maybe not going to win. And Lamai said it's not gezela. If it's not gezela, then why is a Mesachet Bekuvia why is he not allowed to be a aid or dayan? Zak the Gemara, el lefi she'ein asukin b'yeshuvo shel olam. They're not asuk in the yeshuva shel olam. They're not involved in the world. Last Rashi in the Mishnah, ein lo umnis elahu, dehoel ve'ein oskin b'yeshuvo shel olam, eina bekiyin betiv dinin umasu matan. Ve'ena yarechet. If they're not involved in the world and they don't know the halachas, they don't know the halachas of business, quote unquote, not halachas from a Jewish perspective, they don't know the way things work in business, they don't know the halachas of choshen mishpat, they're not worried about sinning, therefore, Lamaisa, if they don't have jobs and they're not involved in the world, then they're going to sin, and therefore they are not going to be kosher down. And my benayu, what's the nafkamina? Ike benayu degamar umnusa achrita. The nafkamina is if you have another job. If we're worried that the reason that a Mesachet Bekuvia is pasul is because he's stealing money from people, it doesn't matter how many jobs he has. Even if he has a job, what's the difference if he has a job? Well, if you hold it's just because you don't know the way of the world, then you happen to be a Mesachet Bekuvia on Mondays, but Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays you're involved in the world, you're doing business, you know what's going on, you're echet, and therefore you can be a dayan or an aid. But if you say that the whole reason is because you're Mesachet Bekuvia and you're a Gazlan, so then it doesn't matter if you have another job or 2 jobs or 4 jobs. You're still a Gazlan when it comes to gambling, and therefore, let's just finish, and therefore, at the end of the day, Lamaisa, you're a gambler and you're going to be pasul. Tnan says the Gemara, Amar Yehuda, Eimas mayim bisban she'ein lehen umnas elahu. So Yehuda says, when is this? when you don't have another job. What's Rabbi Yehuda coming? Let's assume Rabbi Yehuda is clarifying or agreeing with the Rabbanan. He's just clarifying. Which opinion is that when he says, as long as you don't have another job? If you have another job, it's okay. Who's that like? That's not like asmachta. That's not assuming you're a gazan, because then why would it make a difference if you have another job? The fact that Rabbi Yehuda is clarifying the Rabbanan, it sounds like Rabbi Yehuda is agreeing with the Rabbanan and saying, well, he's only going to be pasul if he doesn't have another job. Because the reason that a Mesache B'Kovi is pasul is because he doesn't know the laws of the land. He's not involved in the laws. Says the Gemara, Alma Taima de Masizim Mishum Yeshua Shel Olamu Kasha Rami Bar Chama. That's the Kasha Rami Bar Chama who says that a Mesache B'Kovi is pasul because at the end of the day he's stealing. Says the Gemara, V'chitema Pligi Rabban Alad Rabbi Yehuda. Well, you can argue that Rabbi Yehuda is either clarifying what the rabbis say or he's arguing on the rabbis. If he argues on the rabbis, then in essence the Rabbanan being the beginning of the Mishnah which says Mesache B'Kovi is pasul. If Rabbi Yehuda is clarifying, that means that the entire Mishnah holds that what? That as long as you have another job, you're fine, which implies not like Rami Bar Chama. But if you say that he's arguing on the Rabbanan, then Rami Bar Chama can say, well, I hold like the Tanakama, who says Mesache B'Kovi is pasul because of the fact that he's stealing. And Rabbi Yehuda says that he's pasul because he doesn't know the dinim, and if he has another job, it's fine. Says the Gemara, if you hold that Rabbanan are arguing with Rabbi Yehuda, and therefore Rami Bar Chama could say, I hold like the Rabbanan, remember Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, but it can't be. So Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi says, Kol Malkom Sham Rabbi Yehuda Emasai. Anytime Rabbi Yehuda says the word Emasai, which is what he says in our Mishnah, Ubama, or if he says the word Bama, Eino Ela Lefarish Divrei Chachamim. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Emasai Lefarish, the word Emasai is Lefarish, Ubama is Lachlo. They argue about what the word Bameh means. It means Rabbanan say something, and Rabbi Yehuda says Bameh. The question is, Bameh, is that arguing or is that clarifying? But everybody agrees that when he says Emasai, that's clarifying. So if everybody agrees that Emasai is clarifying, Dekule Alma Emasai Lefareshu, that means that everybody agrees that Rabbi Yehuda is clarifying the Rabbanan, which means that our entire Mishnah is within Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan, i.e., everybody in the Mishnah holds that what? The reason that a Mesache B'Kovia is pasul is because he's not Osek B'Yeshuvo Shalolam. Therefore, if he has another job, he is allowed to be a judge or an aide. How can Rami Bar Chama say the reason that a Mesache B'Kovia is pasul is because at the end of the day it's an asmachta lokanda because he's stealing? Nobody says it in our Mishnah. Says the Gemara, Gavra Gava Karamis, Mar Savar Pligi, Mar Savar Lo Pligi. No. Rami Bar Chama will say to you that he argues and that when Rabbi Yehuda says Emasai, he's arguing on the Rabbanan. And therefore Rami Bar Chama will say, yes, according to Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Rabbi Yehuda is clarifying the Rabbanan because he says Emasai. But Rami Bar Chama will say, no, Rabbi Yehuda is arguing on the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan would say that a Mesache B'Kovia is pasul because he's stealing. Rabbi Yehuda is coming and arguing and saying, no, he's not pasul because of stealing. He's pasul because he's not osek b'yeshuva shalolam. Therefore, Emasai, he's only going to be pasul if he doesn't have another job. That's what Rami Bar Chama will say. The other opinion will say, no, Rabbi Yehuda is clarifying the Rabbanan. Therefore, Rami Bar Chama, you have no support in our Mishnah. Let's just finish. Velo pligi. So now everybody's fine. Rami Bar Chama can say, I have the Rabbanan to agree with in the Mishnah. And the other opinions will say, I have Rabbi Yehuda and or I have the Rabbanan as well, if Rabbi Yehuda is clarifying. The Gemara says, Velo pligi. Is it true that they don't argue? It means the Gemara is assuming now that maybe it's Rami Bar Chama is 100% right. Maybe Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan have to argue. Why? Because we have another brisa that seems to say, unlike Rabbi Yehuda, Bein sheyesh le'umnus shelohu, bein she'ein le'umnus elahu, areza pasul. That a Mesache B'Kovia is pasul across the board. Well, if Rabbi Yehuda and the Rabbanan in our Mishnah are saying the same thing, then we have no opinion yet which says that a Mesache B'Kovia is pasul across the board. Now that we have this other opinion, it seems exactly what Rami Bar Chama is saying. Rabbanan say that he's pasul across the board because he's stealing, even if he has another job. And Rabbi Yehuda says, no, he's not pasul across the board because it's not about stealing. It's just about knowing the laws of the land. And Lamai says, as long as he has another job. Says the Gemara, he Rabbi Yehuda mishum Rabbi Tarfoni. No. One can argue that our entire Mishnah, if one wants to argue, our entire Mishnah is Rabbanan and Rabbi Yehuda who agree with each other. This second Mishnah, which is like Rami Bar Chama, that's Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Tarfon. That's how it comes out. So Rami Bar Chama will either argue that our Mishnah, the Tanakama is like him, and Rabbi Yehuda is like Rav Sheshes, or Rami Bar Chama will say, fine, the Mishnah is not like me, but I have another Mishnah like me, Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Tarfon. Let's just see where Hahi Rabbi Yehuda Mishum Rabbi Tarfoni. Where do we see that Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Tarfon is this person who basically says, again, if you say that he's pasul across the board, then at the end of the day, if he says that he's pasul across the board, then you're basically holding that an asmachta is lo kanya. then you're holding that if somebody's somech, it's lo kanya, right? Because again, why would he be pasul across the board? If you hold that when he's somech on something else, it's lo kanya, and therefore you're stealing. Says Gemara, where do we see a similar case? And again, it's not so easy to see the comparison here, but let's just finish. The Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Omer Mishum Rabbi Tarfon LaOlam Ein Echad Me'en Mazir Lefi Shelo Natan Nazirus Ela Lafla. What's this case? Look at the Rashi on the right side. Last Rashi. Ein Echad Me'en Mazir. Shnayim Yoshin ve'Echad Over. Ze Omer Ploni HaOver Nazirhu ve'Ze Omer Eino Nazir. We're sitting here, two of us, and there's a guy walking towards us. And I say that guy's a Nazir. And you say that guy's not a Nazir. And I say, really? I'm willing to bet you he's a Nazir. I'm so confident that he's a Nazir. V'amar echad hareini Nazir im kemosa hu shehu Nazir. Or the opposite. I'm so confident, I guess, that he's a Nazir, and I want to be a Nazir too. If he's a Nazir, I'll become a Nazir. V'chaver omer, I'm so confident he's not a Nazir. Hareini Nazir im kemosa hu she'eno Nazir. If he's not a Nazir, I'll become a Nazir. So I say if he's a Nazir, I'll become a Nazir, and you say if he's not a Nazir, I'll become a Nazir. So one of us has to become a Nazir. He's either a Nazir or not a Nazir. Ushneim miskavnel nazirus v'nimsak echad mehem v'amar Rabbi Tarfon ein echad mehem Nazir. Neither one of us is a Nazir, no matter what happens. Why? She'ala safek amar devar tchila. Because we both weren't sure at the time that we said that we'll become Nazirus. Ve'ein zu hafla. The pasuk says if you want to become a Nazir, dechi yafli ish. It needs to be yafli. Pala means clear. There needs to be a clear utterance of I am a Nazir. It can't be I am a Nazir if that guy's a Nazir. Or I am a Nazir if that guy's not a Nazir. That's not a clear utterance of Nazirus. Yefaresh mashma. Alma, what do we see here? Le Rebbe Tarfon, dechitali tana b'midi dilav b'yade v'lo yadalei. At the end of the day, what did I do? I put my Nazirus into that guy's hands. It basically said, if that guy's a Nazir, I'll be a Nazir as well. What was I doing? I was being someich, my Nazirus, on him. Do we let the smicha mean anything? We say smicha lo kanya. Smicha, when you're somech on something, we assume it's as if you're nothing. When you're somech on something that's not for sure, we don't count it. So if I'm somech as a gambler, if I'm somech, the guy who I'm gambling against, if he was somech on the possibility that he might win, might lose, it's as if he wasn't somech on anything at all. Therefore, when I take his money, I'm stealing from him. Says the Gemara, v'lo amrina mitzveka gamar v'akne. Therefore, just like over there where I'm somech on something which is not real, it's not a real smicha, it's not a real kinyan, therefore I don't become a Nazir. Over here, when the guy is somech on maybe winning, maybe losing, it's not a real smicha, therefore smicha lo kanya, and therefore when I am a gambler and I take his money, I'm stealing from him, and that's why within this opinion, bein sheyesh lo mneshalohu, bein she'ein lo mneselahu harei zeh pasul. Therefore I'm going to be pasul regardless of whether I have another job, because at the end of the day, I stole in this case, and it's not about knowing the laws of the land, it's about stealing, and if I steal, I am going to be pasul.